this crucial time in the party. If you can join us, we'll be very grateful as part of making this happen. But now, without any further ado, can I introduce the man that I believe will be the next leader of the Labour Party? Please welcome.
Thank you very much indeed, not just for tonight, but for all the other days you do so much, just for this campaign, but also you're doing, as you said, and you suffered as my agent in the general election. So without you, we wouldn't be here at all. So thank you. Say thank you. I say personally, very big thank you to everyone that's involved in this quite amazing campaign. It's put together not just the event this evening here in Camden, but all the others all over the country. On Saturday night we had 1,500 people in Liverpool, we had 1,000 in Birmingham yesterday, we had 500 in Preston on Saturday morning, and we had a huge meeting in Coventry yesterday afternoon. There are massive meetings going on all over the country, and tonight, because so many people have come, we're here, we're outside on the fire engine, we're in the overflow meeting in the main hall, we're in the big hall to finish off the evening. There's at least 4 meetings going on this evening, so please don't be angry with me when I leave as soon as I've finished my contribution here today. We live in London, which is a wonderful, brilliant, great city. We're very proud to live in London, and it has its problems. It's a city of the most enormous diversity, it's a city of the great opportunity for so many people, it's also a city of the largest gap between the richest and poorest anywhere in Britain. It is a city where the haves have a great deal, where the have-nots have poor housing, poor life chances, poor health, and the worst off victims end up sleeping on the streets and begging around our tube stations. We have a government strategy in London which is about forcing councils to sell off their empty properties if they're above a certain value, thereby reducing the housing chances of many more. That is forcing housing associations to sell off their properties, thus reducing the housing opportunities of many, many more people, and doing absolutely nothing to regulate the private rented sector and the excessive rents that are being charged in the private rented sector. They're presiding over the social cleansing of much of central London by these policies, and the combination of that and the benefit cap means that many poorer people are simply being expelled from London. Do we want London to look like central Manhattan in 10 years or 20 years' time, or do we want to keep the pleasure, the joy, the diversity, the community of London as it is? You can't do that if you let the free market rip. You can't do that if you allow the wealthy to buy up big properties, to land bank them and keep them empty, to use them as a cash cow for the future. You need to have principles and intervention in order to maintain this city in the way that it is. And so, suggestions that have been put forward. 1, building more council housing, giving councils the opportunity ending the sales of properties, and thirdly, ending the idea that somehow or other you can sell your way into housing prosperity in the future by decanting working class communities from certain areas to make them the preserve of the incoming and the rich. Surely, together to achieve far more. But there are other issues facing London as well. I emphasise housing because I represent an inner city constituency. I understand the issues of housing. I understand how we can better control it and better regulate it. And therefore, I say that with a great deal of feeling. And I don't want to see our children growing up underachieving in school because they're living in grossly overcrowded accommodation, can't do their homework, can't study, and for many young adults can never leave home. So it's kind of sad when you get 70-year-old parents coming to see me to ask when their 45-year-old son is likely to be able to leave home. It happens to all of us, and I think we've got to do something about it as a society. And so I'm looking forward to the idea that we can develop our housing policies to deal with that. But we also have environmental issues to deal with in London. Air pollution is getting worse again, not better. Getting worse because of lack of emission controls, because of the lack of inquiry into emission controls and the lack of concerted action by our mayor to bring about a cleaner city that's healthier for all people. It's the poorest who suffer from air pollution. It's the children who suffer from dirty exhaust from cars. We can, should and must do better. Now you might say all this is a far cry from the wider debate that we're involved in. But it's not really, because if you run a society on the basis that the free market knows best, the free market can let rip, somehow or other, all will be well in the future. It doesn't work like that. The history of this city has been those that campaigned to get the Metropolitan Board of Works, to get the London County Council, to get the Greater London Council, to get the Greater London Authority, to get an authority that can speak and work for all. And it wouldn't be great if next year we had a mayor who spoke and worked for all of us. Have huge issues that are facing not just London, but our society as a whole. Because housing issues affect the whole country. Housing issues mean investment in council housing, mean good quality housing for all. That is what we want to achieve, and that is part of the campaign that we're running. But it's also about how we approach public services. If I asked every one of you in here, put your hands up and say, do you support healthcare as a right free of the point of view? Every hand would go up. It's all right, I believe you. Don't worry. I believe you. I see the hands shooting up already. I believe you. How do we get a National Health Service? Was it because a group of MPs sat round in the august surroundings of the members' tea room in the House of Commons? Really good idea of a National Health Service. Why don't we do that? It happened because very brave people with vision campaigned for local government to provide healthcare, campaigned for the idea that healthcare should be available for all, and eventually a very brave minister, facing a debt-to-income ratio of 250%, said, healthcare comes first. And Anarian Bevan founded the National Health Service, a national health service free at the point of use for all. So be very, very careful about the Health and Social Care Bill, which deliberately privatises a large section of the National Health Service, and a whole Tory agenda, which is about atomising and privatising our National Health Service and making it a service of last resort and a service of universal availability for all of us. Defend the NHS with every fibre of your body to keep it there as the most socialist thing we've got in this country and the greatest achievement the Labour Party, the Labour movement, the trade unions have ever made. Be proud. Put your hands up for a universal welfare state. I'm sure you all would in this room because you're decent, nice, advanced, intelligent, civilised people who believe in the universality of everything, and that I'm convinced. I only know half the people in this room. But we are being fed a steady diet that anyone receiving benefits to which they're entitled is a scrounger. That anyone with disabilities is receiving benefits somehow or other doesn't deserve them, and somehow or other they should be ashamed of it. I read a message today from a disabled person with a wheelchair outside a shop in Victoria who asked somebody if they would mind going in the shop to get something for her because she couldn't get her wheelchair in the shop. And the person said, "Get away, you beast grounger, get out of my face." Disgusting, rude, nasty, and I hope that the person pointed this out to them. But also, where has that come from? Where has that message come from? Where did they pick that sense of inhumanity of one person to another from? Can we stop running down the road of Benefit Street and start looking instead at the gross levels of inequality that exist in this city? Couldn't we make a society that is proud to have nobody homeless, to have nobody sleeping on the street, to have nobody begging, a welfare state that really worked for all? I'm not talking about people evading things, I'm talking about a society that wants to achieve that. Actually, at the end of the day, however rich we are, we all need that state. One day, we're all going to have elderly relatives who need adult social care. One day, we'll have relatives who need mental health support. One day, we could all suffer an accident and be grossly injured as a result and need a great deal of care and support. Don't believe just because you're rich, you're immune to all of those things. A quarter of all bankruptcies in the USA are brought about by healthcare costs. Let us not just defend what we've got, but be proud of the kind of society we want to live in. If we keep conceding the ground to the Tories, to the free marketeers and the right in politics, then we end up denying ourselves what we really believe in. And so, I want to live in a society that is more decent, more civilised, more caring of its environment, more caring of its young people. Why do we allow students to leave university with massive levels of debt? 50,000, 60,000 of debt, a medical student even more. Massive levels of debt. I value education for the good it does to the individual, but for the good it does to all of us. If I'm travelling on a train and a qualified, serious, good engineer has maintained the train is likely to be safe. If there's no qualified engineer and nobody looking after it, it's likely to be dangerous. Same applies to a plane, same applies to a building, same applies to medicine and everything else. We all benefit from everybody else's education. And so, I think we should look at the way we're treating students. Kat Fletcher and I first met when she was president of the NUS campaigning against student fees. And we campaigned against the introduction of the £1,000 fee because I could see the direction in which it was going. It then went to 3,000, it went to 9,000. Next thing is lifting the cap altogether. And Tory minister after Tory minister tells me, stop worrying about that, it's okay, there's going to be lots of scholarships. Yeah, there's going to have to be quite a few million scholarships. There's got to be some seriously rich people who are dishing out an awful lot of scholarships to deal with this. Do we want to live in scholarship Britain, or do we want to live in opportunity Britain? I think I know which one we want to live in. So, it costs. Yeah, it does cost. Other countries have realised the value of education and haven't gone down the road of individual charging for higher education in the way that we have. Our calculation is that by raising corporation tax by the magnificent, enormous, groundbreaking sum of 0.5%, we can cover student fees for everybody and give university and vocational education for all school leavers. Isn't that price worth paying? I've got lots of people telling me what I should do. Lots of media telling me what I think, and I haven't done that thinking, so they're doing it for me, it's fine. Also, a lot of people are telling me what I've got to do, so I'm going to have to be very quick. Can I just conclude with 3 quick thoughts? Tomorrow, we're going to Leeds, where we're presenting a document there about investment in the economy, about the development of the National Investment Bank, so that we rebalance the economy in the way that Margaret Thatcher destroyed it in the 1980s. She destroyed our manufacturing base, she attacked our trade unions, she created the grossest inequality possible in society, and it's got worse. What we surely need is a government that is prepared to intervene, that is prepared to invest in high-tech engineering, invest in manufacturing and sustainable, environmentally sustainable engineering projects and work, that doesn't go ahead with the private nuclear missile system, instead uses that money to develop the industrial and engineering base of this country. Thinking and forward looking. Now then, after the election, I was devastated that we lost the election. Everybody in this room was devastated. Thinking about it, you could see why. Because there was good stuff in the Labour manifesto, no question about that, great stuff in it. And life would have been a lot better for a lot of people had we won the election. But we were still offering austerity light. We were still not challenging the politics of austerity, which is about setting an arbitrary date for budget surplus, an arbitrary date to achieve that, and forcing the poorest, most vulnerable people who rely on public services to pay for it. That seems to me to be wrong. And so we've developed and put forward a serious economic alternative. And some of my colleagues appear not to have understood it already yet, so I'm sending copies of it to all. At one level for a position, but at another level it's a discussion about the nature of politics in our society. I want a more collective approach. I don't see things as personalities, as celebrity, as dictators being elected by mass movements. I see this as unleashing ideas' potential and understanding where we came from. How we got the vote, how we defeated, to some extent, racism within our society, how we made all that progress, was about people doing things together. I'm absolutely inspired by the people that come together in this campaign. Young and old, every grouping, every community, massive numbers of people. They want to see in our political system something very, very different to that that's on offer at the moment. And I think that is very exciting. So, democratise our policy making. Don't give it to a group of people to sit in a secluded hotel at a weekend and reach a consensus on what is good for the entire community. Have that gritty debate in a community centre, at a union meeting, at a workplace, in your school, in your college, about the kind of society and economy that you want. When we're walking down the road together, trying to achieve that collective in society, we defeat the naysayers. We don't blame the minorities. We don't blame the vulnerable. We see the strength of collective. That's what's inspiring about this campaign. That's what's brought us together, to avoid being outside on a beautiful summer's evening in London and be stuck here in Camden. So I want to say thank you to all of you for coming along tonight. Thank you for taking part in this campaign. Whatever the result on September the 12th, I have no idea what it's going to be. We have made a lot of progress, but we're going to have to stay together to make sure we achieve the policy changes that have been encouraged, inspired and developed by so many people that have come together in our campaign tonight and every other night. This is the 43rd public meeting we've done, and we just finished 21 hustings all in 5 weeks. So it's going well. Thank you very much.